what's up everyone? Tales of Aria has been out for quite some time now, which means that we finally get to update the tier list video. This is how the tier list looked like the previous time I did one of these videos. If you want to hear my in-depth thoughts about all these heroes, you can go over and watch that video. I will link it down in the comments. However, I don't want to repeat myself all over again, since for the most part the tier list in this regard is still the same. But there have been a couple of things happening since the last video. For one, Seeds of Agony got banned for Chain, which means that Chain might not be at the S tier anymore. And we got 3 new heroes, so let's just dive into it and see what we can do. So for the most part, I feel for Blitz at least, the tier list here is still roughly the same. However, I feel Boltyn, for example, this one doesn't really perform that well anymore, especially with decks like Boltyn and Frost Lexi in the Blitz format. So Boltyn has dropped down to the B tier slot, unfortunately. Kasai, on the other hand, seems to be doing a lot better now, which means that Kasai has moved up to the A tier slot. Dorantia is now doing a lot better now that Chain has been nerfed a bit with the Seeds of Agony ban. Chain, by the way, has dropped down a little bit. It's still a very good deck, but it has dropped down to the A tier, and Dorantia has gone up to the S tier. Dash, I think, has gone down to the B tier because the deck just can't really perform well with the amount of control decks in the Blitz form right now. Like, right now there's kind of a lot of mid-range and control-y decks like All Team and even decks like Lexi that try to take advantage of the Frostbite tokens. So I think right now a image like this is about right in terms of what is competitive in Blitz and what is not. So if you want to get a hero from the older sets, feel free to pick any of the S or A tier heroes. Maybe Viserai is a little bit too technical for new heroes, but I've seen good Viserai players perform very consistently with this deck doing the OTK build. Like, they just keep on protecting until they have enough rune chance and then they just go all in. And same with Reiner. Like, Reiner can pull off some very janky combos by using Barraging Beatdown into a big swing. So what is new? We now have Briar, Lexi and All Team in the format, and for the most part these heroes are actually surprisingly good in Blitz. Like, I've seen a friend of mine navigating an aggro version of Briar, using mostly 0-cost cards in order to just use a couple of non-attack actions to gain that go again token and then attacking in and attacking again. After that, seems to work really well, especially with Electrify. Like, you can play Electrify from the arsenal, pitch a card, get a new card in return, and then just go all in that way. And then you still have the flexibility to go in with a weapon swing after that, which comes in with 2 Arcane, which in itself is very good because it forces the opponent to block awkwardly. So I think in case of Briar is not fully optimized yet. I feel the builds I've seen at the moment, they are too heavily focused on aggro. I think people need to have a little bit more defense reactions in the deck, because even though my games, like, I mostly play Ira at Blitz events and Lexi nowadays, but the games that I lose, they are very close, and the games that I win were also very close. So I feel if Briar can play a little bit more defensively, she can most likely go into the S tier slot. But as of right now, because of all the aggro and damage it can push out, I think Briar is definitely in the A tier slot right now. Once the deck list online and the deck list that people are navigating have improved a bit, I think this is really a potential S tier hero. I will put it in the S tier for now, simply because of all the power it has and how consistently it can push out damage. But keep in mind, the list online right now is sitting at the A tier, but once it's optimized, it's likely going to be S tier. Maybe I'm wrong, maybe it should be permanently in the A tier, but let's just put it like this. And in terms of S tier, let's just say that S tier I consider any deck that has over a 55% win rate, any deck that has over a 50% win rate, and here we put stuff like 45% and up, 40% and everything on the 40%, so let's go there. So this so far, like Briar, definitely one of the better heroes. I think Lexi, I've been playing a lot of Lexi at events, and even though right now in my sample size, and this is over the course of like maybe maybe 30 games, I guess, with the optimized build. I'm sitting around a 50% win rate, and I think that might have to do with the build that I navigate. I'm running the build that I also covered in my budget deck video, where I have a kind of like a go tall Lexi, putting some +3 effects on the field and then going in with a dominated arrow that has some nice alternate effects, like the Frazzle in combination with Ball Lightning and also the Mark of Lightning Gloves to deal an additional 3 damage. The deck does very well for me, especially against Kano decks, because I do have the Heart of Ice in the sideboard, and that's one of the benefits from the Ice arrows, because the Heart of Ice makes it very awkward for Kano to decide what they want to do, because once you activate the Heart, they need to use the instance right away. Or if they don't use it right away and you can somehow survive, you can hit them with a very big dominated arrow, which can sometimes cost them the game on the spot, because they do start at 15 life, and Lexi can really take advantage of that. Same thing with All-Team. All-Team can really be troublesome for a Kano player. Not only do you have like mostly blues in the deck if you play a deck like this, so you can easily pitch 3 or even more to stop Kano's activations or Kano's spells, but then on top of that you also have that really nice defense reaction built into All-Team, which lets you avoid yet another 2 damage sources from whatever is coming at it. So an All-Team player can really just completely stop an opponent in its tracks. Because of that, All-Team is very difficult to beat, but one of the issues that I've noticed with All-Team, at least in Blitz, is that we are in a 30-minute format, and I see a lot of All-Team players going into the draw simply because they don't have enough time to finish their game. And this is one of the things with Blitz in general, and maybe you saw my poll the other day where I was talking that CC and Blitz is similar in complexity, and it seems that the majority of people are a bit divided about that. Like some people, like about half of the people seem to agree, the other half seem to say that CC is more complex. But I think one of the issues with Blitz at this point of time is that we are in that 30-minute format, and because of that, a lot of the control decks can't really navigate properly unless you have like 2 very experienced players playing off against each other and both players know what they're doing and they're playing fast. Like in my local meta, for example, we have a bunch of rather advanced players, so when they play with a control deck, they don't really have issues finishing the game in that 30-minute mark, and because of that, All-Team is actually performing really decently for them. Like I believe they are sitting around the 55% win rate simply because they can stop all those shenanigans that decks like Ira, for example, pulls off. So in terms of potential win rate, it's definitely a 55% deck, but because of all the draws, and it's really a problem. Maybe we need a 40-minute format, and because of all the draws, it's right now sitting in the 45% win rate tier. And that's really sad because the deck has all the potential to really go off, but yet it's sitting right here in the C tier instead of S tier. And LSS, if you're watching this, please give Blitz another 10 minutes, because I know that we want Blitz to be the short format so that the tournaments don't last long, but I don't know what to say. Like, there's so much potential for decks like All-Team. There is potential for even decks like Prism if they could build a more control-ish deck, and then they could probably move up to the B tier even higher in Blitz. But because there is so little time, there is so little room for actual setup, because you're constantly struggling against the clock. And it's just not good in this way, so please give us 10 extra minutes, and I think that should solve itself, and then decks like this should move up a slot. So in terms of Ice Lexi, I know that Ice Lexi is kind of a completely different build altogether. Ice Lexi has not been doing well for me. Ice Lexi is sitting around a 40% win rate, so Ice Lexi does not work at all, unfortunately. But Lightning Lexi is sitting around the 50% win rate. Both the Go Wide build and the Go Tall build, they both seem to do decently well. I have tried playing with Voltaire, but Voltaire you run into issues that you don't have enough stuff to actually put into your arsenal, and then that second activation is kind of wasted. I also tried running the Death Dealer build using things like Snapshot, but I feel that build is kind of a meme. It's too inconsistent, you can't really pull off win cons consistently. The Death Dealer build is sitting around to 45%, but Shiva with Dominates is doing very well for me. I think with a bit of fine-tuning, maybe Lexi can even move up a slot, but the problem is like you don't really have room to use many defense reactions in the deck. You can use the take cover to defend and still get able to put something into your arsenal, or if you have the New Horizon, you can even just pitch it and then use it to put an arrow in there. Really helps to pull your deck together. In terms of Kasai, now that that Chain has been downgraded a bit, like Chain doesn't have access to all those Seeds of Agony and stuff anymore, and they need to play more of a regular aggro plan, Kasai has moved up a bit. Kasai is performing a lot more consistent than it used to, and Dorinthia now has more time to shine because we have one hero out of the format that can deal massive amounts of damage. Because of that, Dorinthia is doing rather decently right now. Like it's not the 60 to 65% win rate that it used to be, but it's definitely sitting at a consistent 55% win rate right now. Kano is not as consistent anymore simply because, like I said, we have these ice heroes in the format that can run stuff like Heart of Ice. Because of that, Kano has gone from maybe 60% to around 55% win rate, but well, we still see a bunch of Kano players that join our events online that seem to get first place rather consistently. They seem to still be consistently able to pull off their Fork Lightning combo, even with all the Frostbite and all the shenanigans from certain players in our playgroup. So that's definitely a thing. So I think Kano definitely remains in the S tier. Ira remains in S tier. Ira has a bit of a dead matchup against All Team simply because All Team can keep on putting Frostbite tokens on the field and making it very difficult for Ira to do pretty much anything. But as long as you keep playing a very defensive plan against decks like All Team, you can usually just load up a Flick Flag into the arsenal in case they have a big Dominate turn and use that to mitigate the damage a little bit. Same if you face something like a Lexi, you can. Ira's one of the more capable heroes to go up against the new Lexi hero because she has so many ways to defend, and then with one blue she can still go in with both the Kodachis for 3 damage. Usually a Lexi hero doesn't want to block, same with Briar, they are not going to block the Kodachis anyways, and then if you can get another attack in after that, usually that means you get your Mars Trigger as well, so that's kind of janky and nice. But yeah, I think as of right now, this is my tier list from the playtesting that I've been doing. I feel Bolton, I'm still playing the Raiden build. I'm going to try the Centauri build again. In the past, the Centauri build wasn't as consistent to me, but maybe with the new, more explosive meta and the defensive meta with stuff like All Team, going with for a very go-wide Centauri build is better. And I think that's also why things like Kasai is performing rather decently now, because Kasai can kind of go wide similar to how Ira does, and just keep poking for little bits of damage, and that makes it very hard for these control heroes to deal with. Like, control heroes tend to be better off dealing with all the go tall shenanigans, but not so much with the go wide shenanigans. So yeah, this is my tier list right now. Let me know what you think. Do you agree with the points that I brought up? Do you think that any of these new heroes should be in a different spot? I definitely think Briar is the best hero from Tales of Aria, at least for the Blitz format. And I think in CC, All Team is definitely an S tier hero, especially, again, you have more time, so you do have time to finish your matches, and All Team has really been making it very difficult for a lot of decks, especially Katsu, Prism and stuff like that. But that's a story for another video. I hope you enjoyed today's content. If you want to support the channel, please hit the thumbs up button and hit that subscribe button. We also have a Patreon where you can support the channel financially and make sure that content will keep on rolling in. And if you haven't checked it out, I am doing a anniversary giveaway in the community section of my YouTube. So if you click on my channel, go to community, and you check the community post from the past week, you will find that I'm giving away one play set of Herald of Protection. So if you want one of those, go drop a comment there, but you do need to be subscribed to the channel to participate. Sorry, it's just the way it is. Anyways, take care and see you all next time.